Students, let's start with your history chapter When People Rebel 1857 and After. Before starting the chapter, I would like to explain you few glossary words so that you can understand the chapter well. The first word is mutiny, a revolt with limited range. Annexation, the formal act of acquiring something by conquest or occupation. Sepoys, meaning soldiers. Rebel, to revolt against the government's authority. Revolt, to rise against duly constituted authority. With these glossary words, you will be able to understand the topics well. So let's start with the chapter. By the mid 19th century, the British had established control over a vast part of India and had emerged as the supreme political power in the country. Their policies and ill treatment towards the Indians resulted in a number of uprisings and rebellions between 1757 and 1856. Though the revolt started with the mutiny of the sepoys of the British Army, it was taken up by other sections of the society as well. The revolt was the culmination of various factors. There was no single cause that can be held responsible for it. There were violent responses from both the sides, and it ultimately resulted in ending the rule of the East India Company in India. The revolt of 1857 was a result of the culmination of popular discontent that had been accumulating for a long time against the policies of the British in India. During the span of 100 years from 1757 to 1857, there was extension of political power and economic exploitation. It created dissatisfaction and distrust both among the Indian elite and the masses, which resulted in several local risings prior to the revolt. You have already read about the peasant rebellions and the tribal uprising in your previous chapters. So these uprisings were an evidence of the gradually increasing discontent of the Indian people against the British rule. Nawabs lose their power. Since the mid 18th century, Nawabs and Rajas had seen their power erode. They had gradually lost their authority and honor. Residents had been stationed in many courts, the freedom of the rulers reduced, their armed forces disbanded, and their revenues and territories taken away by stages. Many ruling families tried to negotiate with the company to protect their interest. Rani Lakshmi Bai is such an example. She wanted the company to recognize her adopted son as the heir to the kingdom after the death of her husband, but this demand was refused by the British East India Company. Nana Sahib, the adopted son of Peshwa Bajirao II, pleaded that he be given his father's pension when the latter died. However, the company, confident of its superiority and military powers, turned down these pleas. Awadh was one of the last territories to be annexed. In 1801, a subsidiary alliance was imposed on Awadh, and in 1856 it was taken over. Governor General Dalhousie declared that the territory was being misgoverned and British rule was needed to ensure proper administration. The next topic is the peasants and the sepoys. In the countryside, peasants and zamindars resented the high taxes and the rigid methods of revenue collection. Many failed to pay back their loans to the moneylenders and gradually lost the lands they had tilled for generations. The Indian sepoys in the employ of the company also had reasons for discontent. They were unhappy about their pay allowances and conditions of service. Some of the new rules, moreover, violated their religious sensibilities and beliefs. So, when in 1824 the sepoy were told to go to Burma by the sea route to fight for the company, they refused to follow the order. Though they agreed to go by the land route, they were severely punished, and since the issue did not die down, In 1856, the company passed a new law which stated that every new person who took up employment in the company's army had to agree to serve overseas if required. Sepoys also reacted to what was happening in the countryside. Many of them were peasants and had families living in the villages, so the anger of the peasants quickly spread among the sepoys. The British believed that the Indian society had to be reformed. Laws were passed to stop the practice of sati and to encourage the remarriage of widows. English language education was actively promoted. After 1830, the company allowed Christian missionaries to function freely in its domain and even own land and property. In 1850, a new law was passed to make conversion to Christianity easier. This law allowed an Indian who had converted to Christianity to inherit the property of his ancestors. Many Indians began to feel that the British were destroying their religion, their social customs, and their traditional way of life. Hope you have understood these topics. Thank you, children.